Shattered vows. This story teaches us that sometimes it's necessary to let go of the past and move on from toxic relationships or situations that are holding us back. Welcome to African Tales by Official Chucks. Please like and subscribe to my channel for more content like this. As she sat in her dimly lit apartment, surrounded by memories of the past 9 years, Nneoma's mind struggled to comprehend the news. Her boyfriend, Obinna, had just informed her that he was getting married to another woman. The words echoed in her head like a cruel joke. 9 years of love, laughter, and promises, all reduced to a mere whisper of betrayal. Nneoma's thoughts swirled with questions. How could he do this to her? Had she meant nothing to him? The pain seeped into her bones, and she felt her world crumbling around her. She thought back to all the moments they had shared, the plans they had made, and the future they had envisioned together. It all seemed like a lie now. As she sat there, frozen in shock, the doorbell rang. It was her best friend, Ada. Nneoma hadn't even realized she had called her. Ada's concerned face was the first thing Nneoma saw as she opened the door. "What's wrong?" Ada asked, but Nneoma just shook her head, unable to speak. Ada led her to the couch and held her hand, waiting for Nneoma to find her voice. The silence between them was filled with unspoken understanding. Ada had seen the relationship from the beginning and had always been there for Nneoma. As the news sank in, Nneoma's shock began to turn into anger. She couldn't believe Obinna would do this to her. She started to wonder if she had been blind to the signs or if he had been deceiving her all along. With each passing moment, Nneoma's anger grew, and she knew she had to do something. She couldn't just sit there and let Obinna get away with this. Nneoma's eyes scanned the invitation card, her heart sinking with each passing word. Obinna and his fiancée, Ife, were getting married in 2 weeks' time. The thought of it made her stomach churn with anger and disgust. How could he move on so quickly? Had he ever truly loved her? Nneoma felt like she was living in a nightmare and she couldn't wake up. She thought about all the times Obinna had told her he loved her, all the promises he had made, and the future they had planned together. It all seemed like a lie now. As she stared at the invitation, Nneoma's mind began to wander to the possibilities of what could have gone wrong in their relationship. Was she not enough for him? Had he found someone better? The questions swirled in her head, but one thing was certain. She would not let him get away with this without a fight. Nneoma thought about how she could confront Obinna, but then she decided she wouldn't give him the satisfaction. Instead, she would make sure he remembered her on his special day. She started to formulate a plan, thinking about how she could crash the wedding and make a scene. The thought of it brought a sense of satisfaction, and for the first time since the breakup, Nneoma felt a glimmer of hope. She knew she had to be careful, but she was determined to make Obinna pay for what he had done to her. As she sat there, a smile spread across her face, and she felt a sense of determination wash over her. The day of the wedding finally arrived, and Nneoma's emotions were in turmoil. She stood outside the church, her heart pounding in her chest. She could hear the murmur of the guests, the sound of the organ playing, and the rustling of clothes as people took their seats. Nneoma took a deep breath, steeling herself for what was to come. She thought about all the times she had stood by Obinna's side, supporting him, loving him, and believing in him. Now, it was time for him to face the consequences of his actions. With a newfound sense of determination, Nneoma pushed open the church doors and stepped inside. The guests turned to look at her, their faces a mixture of surprise and curiosity. Obinna's eyes widened as he saw Nneoma walk down the aisle, her eyes fixed on him. Ife looked terrified, her eyes darting between Obinna and Nneoma. The priest stopped mid-sentence, unsure of what to do next. Nneoma's presence had brought the ceremony to a halt, and the atmosphere in the church was electric with tension. Nneoma's eyes locked onto Obinna's, her gaze piercing and intense. "You think you can just marry another woman after 9 years of mine?" she asked, her voice low and menacing. The guests gasped, some of them whispering to each other. Obinna took a step back, his eyes darting around the church as if searching for an escape. Ife looked like she was about to faint, her face pale and clammy. The priest tried to intervene, but Nneoma's anger was too much to contain. "Answer me, Obinna," she demanded, her voice rising. "Did you think I was just a placeholder until you found someone better?" Obinna's eyes met hers, and for a moment Nneoma saw a glimmer of guilt. But it was quickly replaced by defensiveness. "Nneoma, please," he started, but she cut him off. "No, Obinna, you've had your chance to explain. Now it's time for you to face the consequences of your actions." With that, Nneoma reached into her bag and pulled out a handful of papers. She ripped them up, scattering the pieces everywhere. The guests watched in shock as the papers fluttered to the ground. Some of them were photos of Obinna and Nneoma's happiest moments, while others were receipts and notes from their time together. Nneoma's message was clear. She was done with him, and she was making sure everyone knew it. The church erupted into chaos as Nneoma turned and walked out, leaving Obinna and his guests in stunned silence. Some of the guests tried to follow her, but she was already gone, disappearing into the crowd outside. Obinna's face was red with embarrassment and anger. He tried to compose himself, but it was clear that the wedding was off. Ify was crying, her makeup running down her face. The priest tried to salvage the situation, but it was too late. The damage was done, and the guests were already whispering about the drama that had just unfolded. As the news spread, social media began to buzz with speculation about what had happened. Some people praised Nneoma for her bravery, while others criticized her for causing a scene. Obinna's family tried to defend him, but it was clear that he was in the wrong. Nneoma, on the other hand, felt a sense of liberation wash over her. She had stood up for herself, and she had made sure Obinna knew he couldn't just use her and discard her. The days that followed were filled with drama and speculation. Obinna's wedding was postponed indefinitely, and his relationship with Ify was put on hold. Nneoma's friends and family rallied around her, praising her for her bravery. But Nneoma knew that she still had a long way to go. She had to pick up the pieces of her shattered heart and rebuild her life. She started by cutting off all contact with Obinna and blocking his number. She also deleted all the photos and messages they had shared on social media. It was a painful process, but Nneoma knew it was necessary. As she reflected on the past 9 years, Nneoma realized that she had given Obinna too much power over her life. She had put her dreams and aspirations on hold, waiting for him to be ready for the next step. But now, she was free to pursue her own goals and ambitions. The thought was both exhilarating and terrifying. Nneoma stood in front of her mirror, staring at her reflection. She looked different, yet the same. Her eyes still held a hint of sadness, but there was also a spark of determination. She knew that she had a long journey ahead of her, but she was ready. She took a deep breath, letting the pain and anger wash away. It was time for her to start anew. Nneoma thought about all the things she wanted to achieve in her life. She wanted to travel, learn new skills, and pursue her passion for writing. She wanted to meet new people and make new friends. As she stood there, a sense of hope filled her chest. She knew that she would be okay, that she would rise from the ashes like a phoenix. Nneoma smiled to herself, feeling a sense of liberation. She was no longer defined by her relationship with Obinna. She was her own person, with her own strengths and weaknesses, and she was ready to take on the world. With a newfound sense of purpose, Nneoma walked out of her apartment, ready to start her new life. The sun was shining, and the birds were singing. It was a new beginning, and Nneoma was ready to seize it. Thanks for watching.